Hi everyone. Yeah, thank you, Bishop Prada, for that introduction, and thank you so much to Reverend Akahoshi and the rest of the Living the Dharma Committee for organizing this event and asking me to share my story. Yeah, so my name is Sydney Shirayama, and I will be speaking about the benefit of belonging to a Shin Buddhist temple or community. I'm fourth generation Japanese American, and my mom grew up attending the Hanford Buddhist Temple in Central California. My parents moved to Northern California for work, and when I was about 4 years old, my mother started taking my sister and I to services on Sundays at the Palo Alto Buddhist Temple. We really leaned in and did all of the activities like Dharma school, choir, taiko, junior YBA. I even got perfect attendance a few times. In 2007, I went to the Youth Advocacy Committee, or YAC retreat, when I was in high school. We joked that this retreat was a Buddhist boot camp because it was intense. During this 1 week retreat, we donned robes and learned how to properly lead a service. We had lectures in between services and even chanted Shoshinge 3 times a day. For me, the most impactful part of this experience was being seen by my community as someone with leadership potential. I think this was the first time my name was mentioned in the Wheel of Dharma, and it was the first time I really got to know some of the ministers. After the Yak retreat, I made sure to say hi to them when we crossed paths at different conferences and events. Even though my grandmother never said this directly to me, I knew she was proud of me for getting involved. She cut out the Wheel of Dharma articles and mailed them to me, and when a new minister visited her temple, she liked to go up to them and ask, "Do you know my granddaughter?" My temple community and Shin Buddhist identity has always been tied to my family, and especially my grandmother. My earliest memories are of going to a bon with her and attending memorial services at Visalia Temple. She passed away at the beginning of 2022 at the age of 94, and she had a really full and happy life. Toward the end of her life, she talked openly about being ready to go, and we were all grateful that she held out past the peak of the pandemic so that we could complete some important tasks, such as family memorial services that were long overdue, and be by her side as she passed peacefully on to the Pure Land. I'm so grateful that I was able to live with her in 2018 for a year when I completed my fieldwork for occupational therapy at Kuya Delta Hospital. At 92 years old, she was still driving around town, hanging out with her friends, and getting 10,000 steps every day. I moved into her 4-bedroom house with my 2 beloved cats, and she took care of all of us. Since I had just graduated with a master's in occupational therapy, I thought I was doing a great service to her by living with her and looking after her a little bit. Equipped with my new, fancy, and expensive degree, I felt that I had a lot of answers to how to be healthy and independent. In true granddaughter fashion, I scolded my grandmother when she used an unstable stool with a cushion to get Tupperware from the highest part of her kitchen cabinet while wearing socks. She scolded me when I didn't put away my dishes right away, and when she noticed my cat's fur on her carpet, which was constant. I scolded her when she walked around saying she was so baka whenever she had a lapse of memory, and she would say, "Oh, my stupid mind." And I said, "Grandma, you need to be more kind to yourself." I even went so far as to get her to say a positive or to try to get her to say a positive self-affirmation. I said, "Grandma, what is something you like about yourself?" And she was so shocked by that question, and I was just so shocked that she couldn't name a single thing, and we just stared at each other a few minutes in complete disbelief. I then concluded that she has a self-esteem issue and was ready to sign her up for therapy. One day in October, my grandma woke up and said, "My mind's all jumbled up. I think I'm having a stroke." I called my aunt who lived nearby and is a nurse, and I took my grandma's blood pressure and did a quick neuro check. Everything was normal. And after my aunt came over, we determined my grandma was not having a stroke, but perhaps a sort of panic attack, and she was feeling really stressed about the holidays. I took the day off of work. Having just completed my mental health internship, I was eager to introduce her to mindfulness meditation to see if that helped with her anxiety. We listened to a guided meditation together. After we finished, I said, "Isn't this nice? Don't you think it would help to do this every morning?" My grandma looked at me and said, "Yeah, it's okay, but I don't have time for this." It was true. She had a lot to do. And once we moved on from the meditation, we began to tackle her to-do list together. The biggest thing was to visit C's Candy and get gift boxes ready for Christmas gifts, including boxes for her mail person and her pharmacist. She had to go to AAA to do something that honestly probably could have been done online. We finished all her tasks by lunchtime and ate together at the Olive Garden. One of the most important things to my grandmother was going to Visalia and Hanford Church whenever there was service, which happened about once a month. I tried to go with her as often as possible. I loved sitting next to her little friends as they thought they were whispering during service. Now, I don't mean to be condescending by describing them as little, but they actually averaged like 4'10", so they were in fact relatively quite small compared to me. Some of my mother's best friends included the Yamashita girls, a set of 4 or 5 sisters she met at Poston incarceration camp. She called them her camp friends. Once when my grandma asked one of the Yamashita girls how she was doing, she replied, "Oh, just doing baka things all the time." I was sitting right across from them. My grandma laughed and said, "My granddaughter gets mad at me when I say that." Another one of my grandma's friends, Tomi Harada, got a hip replacement surgery and ended up being one of my patients at the short stay skilled nursing unit. I taught her how to use a sock aid, and I actually physically caught her once when she slipped off of a shower chair. This was Tomi's second hip surgery, and she was very prepared. It was very important to her that she made a hair appointment as soon as she got admitted, and she let all her friends know how to visit her and which days she would be there. As a result, she had non-stop visitors and phone calls. For that week, her hospital room was the very center of the hub for community gossip. My grandma and the Yamashita girls visited every day. The nurses told me that Tomi had more visitors than the rest of the residents combined. It seemed that Tomi really understood that she would need her friends in order to heal, and this was another reminder to me of the importance of community. Before I lived with my grandma, I thought there was no profession more important than healthcare. I was ready to go to BCA and tell the ministers that these Dharma talks are too hard to relate to and that rituals are too inefficient, Shoshinge is too long, and we need to focus on stress management and evidence-based secular Buddhist practices like mindfulness meditation. Even though I felt like I had the answers to stress management and functional living, I was more anxious and insecure during that year than I had ever been in my life. Doing unpaid full-time work and working directly with patients for the first time was emotionally heavy. I didn't have the time to rest and process everything. While it is understandable that I would struggle given the conditions and harsh expectations of this internship, I felt a lot of shame for not feeling more confident and mentally strong. I thought if I'm not able to tackle my stress using these coping skills I learned during my psych field work, then who am I to tell someone else that they should do it to manage their mental health? Even though I scolded my grandma for saying out loud that she was stupid, inside I felt very stupid and ashamed because I felt that I should be more competent about asserting my expertise. When I tried to recite my own positive self-affirmations, they felt insecure, like I was lying to myself and striving for something unrealistic and unachievable. I eventually realized that, like Tomi, the thing that helped me heal was being in a community that uplifts me. Taking off work to help my grandma run errands was restorative to both of us. I needed a break, she needed some support with her holiday to-do list, and we both needed the Olive Garden breadsticks. Even though I was tired on weekends, I always felt better after going to church together. I was trying so hard to succeed and become an expert therapist who had all the solutions for everyone. It was so refreshing to be among people who honestly didn't care how well I was doing at work. They were just happy I was there. At one of Visalia's quarterly sukiyaki fundraisers, Aiko, one of the Yamashita girls, looked way up to me and said, "Thank you for coming. We appreciate you." I think for me this is one of the biggest benefits of living the Dharma. It's having a community that has embraced me and my family. At church, I don't need to show up as the expert because honestly, if I do, they'll probably remind me that I'm stupid, just like them, and that's totally okay. Instead of positive self-affirmations, what was more comforting to me was reminding myself that it's okay if I feel incompetent and insecure. It's actually very understandable because I'm learning. I don't need to be perfect or great, but I'm appreciated nonetheless. I'm currently transitioning my career from OT to ministry, and this feels really good. I mean, it's certainly a challenge, but it's a challenge I'm honored to give a shot. I'm currently a student at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, and really learning about a Jodo Shinshu doctrine for the first time is difficult and confusing, but the more I learn, the more I understand that my grandmother and her friends really embodied Shin Buddhist teachings. I feel a shared culture in the sanghas that give me a sense of comfort, like I'm home with family. I'm very fortunate that I have the support from my family and community to put my energy and time into something that feels really important to me. In the valley, I saw how a minister shortage affected people like my grandma, who would have been happy to go to service every Sunday morning if there was enough ministers to run them. I would really like to do what I can to keep these services and rituals available for people who need them. Turns out, I'm now beginning to realize that our rituals are not a waste of time, but they help ground us in tradition and culture, and from these fruits, the community grows. As I continue on my Shin Buddhist journey, I feel so stupid, but it feels so good to be okay with that. I don't feel like I should be any other way, and I don't feel like I have a self-esteem issue. In fact, when I really think about how much I'm influenced, supported, and uplifted by my community, I have never felt more confident and full of love and gratitude. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Vedants. Namo Vedants. Namo Vedants. Namo Vedants.